All right, we got number 56, Marissa. This was just an absolute master class by Stewart. We went through history, fine art, Sistine Chapel. There's not a whole lot that we miss in this episode. Here's number 56, Marissa.
Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you are brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'm your host, Stewart, Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from today, quite frankly, raging hot, full blast, solar wind level Bitcoin laser eyes.
Whoa, solar wind?
Just like disrupting. I could disrupt Earth's electric field today.
Jeez.
I'm like, whoa!
Okay.
Yay!
All right, you okay, Marissa?
Wow, he's just a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, can't wait.
Yeah, we about to chat about some sats.
All righty. I'm your co-host, Chris, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus, proud multi-coiner, Bitcoin smash buyer. Smash the subscribe button, just like I smash Bitcoin.
Smash the subscribe. You'll have a chance to win 1 million sats.
Yes.
You'll get the live show, and you'll help us get to number 99 because we are on the road to number 99. We want to do that sucker live. We are going to rip on number 56, Marissa, today.
It's going to be a good one.
So Marissa is Anthony's wife.
Yep.
Anthony put this together for us. She's going to help us on our road to number 99. Number 99 is my wife, Kristen.
That'll be so fun.
Yeah. She lets me stack my weekly Bitcoin, and I love her for that, among all these other reasons. But I want her to let me put everything into Bitcoin. All of it, right? So we're going to be answering Marissa's Bitcoin questions. But first, we want you to help our Satillionaires get to know you a little bit better.
Okay. I am, as you said, married to Anthony, and then we have 3 kids together, a 2, a 4, and a 6-year-old, and they are the best part about our lives, 100%.
Yeah.
I think if we had gotten married earlier, we would probably have like 10 because they're just so great. And yeah, I do some political fundraising. I grew up in Raleigh, and I hate math and I hate finances. So this should be fun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because Bitcoin is effectively math-powered finances. So this is going to be good.
So there's a reason I've been dreading this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Dreading the chat about sats.
Actual has makings of nightmare scenarios for me.
Oh my God.
That's wild. So let's dig into that real quick before we start talking about Bitcoin. Why do you not like, should we start with why do you not like math or why do you not like finances?
Well, so math was my first hate, I guess, before finances. I just hated math. Like all of school, I struggled with it. And I remember sobbing at the dining room table with my dad trying to explain how to, like, I don't know, multiply fractions and divide long division stuff. And I just like, it's not my gift. I have many other gifts. I can bake, I can cook, I can, I play some instrument, like so many other things. Math is not one. And so, yeah, I just like run from it every chance I get.
Nothing wrong with that.
So you do well in music and some of those culinary arts. What other subjects in school did you do well in?
So I loved the liberal arts, history, English. I actually did enjoy, I took Latin and I did enjoy it when I didn't like fail a test. I mean, you kind of hit a point where you actually have to work really hard to like master something. And I hit that threshold with Latin and no longer liked it. But before I did that, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting. It was very, like you follow the rules, you follow the declensions, you follow the conjugations, like it all would flow and make sense. history was just like one big massive story. So who doesn't like reading about a story? And there's so much of it that you can pick, like you can skip the areas that you're not interested in and you can go read about all this other stuff. And then English, just great books, great literature. It can be beautiful. It can be exciting. It can be moving. I mean, it can take you somewhere different, somewhere else. And it's not math, most importantly.
There you go.
The language piece, the English language piece, do you like it because it's a vehicle for stories? Do you like it because it follows a set of grammatical, syntactic rules, or both?
So I think that English grammar is really confusing. And like I learned it, but I didn't like enjoy learning it. That like grammar was not, I was not excited to like diagram a sentence. But I loved reading the stories. So like when we read the Chronicles of Narnia, or when we would read like, I mean, I liked Beowulf this like the second, third time, but like the Odyssey, the Iliad, the Aeneid, all of that kind of stuff, those great stories that kind of they're the foundation of Western civilization and are like what we know and where we live, you know? So it's just, yeah, it felt very exciting to read it.
You like those Greek and Roman classical
I like it
stories?
all. Jane Austen's great. I mean, I mean, any of the great literature. I mean, it's considered like the great works for a reason. And so reading that and then understanding and appreciating why that they're so great. I mean, I think like liberal arts will save our world. So if people could like learn to love it and know why they ought to love it and why it is good and true and beautiful, like that kind of stuff.
And by liberal arts, do you mean stories, but also music, maybe also theater, stuff like that? That
Absolutely.
whole situation.
Yep.
Okay.
All of it. Anything that is good, true, and beautiful in our world, and why it is that, and why appreciating that and striving for that will help develop your whole person, not just your intellect, not just training for a job, but you develop your whole person to the end of wisdom. So then you are a wise person who in every aspect of their life can apply these virtues, and it's very like comprehensive.
Now, let me focus on history for a moment. What parts of history are interesting to you?
So I at first was very drawn to kind of the Greco-Roman history, the Greeks, the Romans, all that. But that was, I think, because when I was in school for my freshman year, I was at a Catholic classical school, St. Thomas More Academy, and it was we were taking Latin, we were reading classical literature, so like the Aeneid, the Iliad, the Odyssey, all of that, and then we were studying that history, that same time period. And then after that, it really turned towards American history. I love America so much. And so, yeah, I mean, America's just great. And there's been nothing else like it. And then it got really into like the Revolutionary era, a little bit the Civil War, not so much. And then the 2 world wars, the whole Great Generation, something that my grandfather fought in, you know, so it kind of got a little bit more personal with that. But then also studying like presidents and how they were all so different and what time period of America's history different presidents did different things that were either awesome or awful, and what, and like the effects. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Just kind of all of it.
So not early America, but not necessarily like land bridge America, you know, American Indians or Native American America, but
not so much.
maybe some colonial America,
Definitely
certainly
colonial.
some revolutionary, not so hot on the Civil War piece. Skip over to First World War, Second World War, and then maybe looping back around to just presidents. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you hate finances?
Probably because I don't want to be mean to my parents. I don't feel like I was ever taught how to do them properly. Like we were taught, you know, if you make $50 from a babysitting job, you put this percentage in savings, this percentage towards the church, and then the rest is you can save it, you can spend it, like whatever. But then I feel like as you get older, things get more complicated. The numbers get bigger. You know, you start having a salary, and then you start like, you're like, but then you have all these bills. It's like, I'm now paying the water bill and I'm now paying the electrical bill and my car insurance is ridiculous. You know, so it's just, I don't know. It got very overwhelming very quickly. And then it kind of felt like it was an impossible problem of, well, but I only make so much and my rent is this and I already have a roommate and it's still this, and then all my other expenses. And then if you want to like do anything fun, like I went to college out of state. So if I wanted to go to my friends' weddings or something, it was expensive because you have to buy an airfare, whatever. So I think it just kind of like snowballed into this impossible problem of you're never really going to have much to work with anyways. So why just kind of pay what you need to pay and then like do what you can to do the things you want to do. And I don't know, it just, and then the whole investing thing, oh my God, I hate it so much. Like starting a job and they're like, do you want a 401k? And then like you have these people over here, they're like, 401ks are awful, you should do a Roth IRA. And then it's just, it just feels very like there are people that go to school to do that for a reason, because it's like, there's a lot that you have to understand, you have to learn and build on. And if you don't have that, then it's like, well, I'm just going to stay in my little bubble right here and do my little world. And that's good for me. So it was probably one of my favorite things of getting married was not having to do the budget, not having to do the finances anymore. That is all Anthony, because I just don't enjoy it at all. At all.
Yeah. Does it feel like terribly functional or administrative?
Oh yeah.
Detail oriented in the worst way.
Yes.
And there's no real story that the numbers are telling you either.
Right.
There's nothing interesting.
It can be depressing, like thoroughly depressing. And then you have the whole mindset of, I think it was Dave Ramsey that said like every dollar should be assigned to something. I feel like I've heard that. Maybe it wasn't
like
Dave
each
Ramsey.
dollar's a soldier and you should be telling it where to go.
Right. And so I could never like, I was always like, why can't you have just extra soldiers in your checking account? Like, why do they have to be assigned to something? Like, can't they just like be there? Like, so then it was like, I started kind of panicking, like, but what about these 3 extra soldiers? Like, what am I going to do with these 3? So it's not my thing. At all. I hate it.
Has anyone ever told you the story of money?
There's a story. So no.
There's a rich history and there's fascinating stories for thousands of years about money. And I didn't know this myself.
Tell me one.
Well, why don't we start with the Romans?
Okay.
Because you enjoyed that time period. Well, soldiers, maybe not Dave Ramsey dollars in your account soldiers, but for real soldiers, the ones who fought without pants, which made them tactically superior. Fascinating business, by the way.
Wow.
I mean, they had on. Like,
I don't know what we would have done with that little tidbit, that fun little tidbit.
They basically they were wearing like leather skirts, effectively, weren't they?
Yes.
And their opponents were wearing heavier gear, and that made them slower. And the Romans could bop, dop, psh, bow because their legs were open. So when you were studying that at, I think you said St. Thomas More. Did you learn how the Romans paid their soldiers?
Probably, but I don't remember.
So they paid them in salt.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. Soldiers received salt in exchange for their work.
Okay.
And this is where you get the idea of being worth your salt.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. And this is where you get the term salary. Because the S-A-L, sal, in salary comes from that salt. Okay. Right? Now, why would a Roman get paid in salt? I mean, you would never consider that money, correct? And, I mean, it ain't even that valuable, is it? It's on your countertop, you grab it, you sprinkle it, no big deal, right? But to a soldier, that was terribly valuable, wasn't it? Because if you are marching all day long in the heat, what are you losing? Sweat, electrolytes, salt. So making sure you have some for your own diet's a good idea. But also, is there a fridge?
No.
There ain't no fridge. If you have some meat, what are you going to do with it?
Salt it.
Yes, right? So salt is a functional item. It's a commodity, right? It's a real world item, and it has a use outside of being money. But for a soldier, it has that utility. And not only could a soldier use the salt to keep himself healthy, to maybe deal, with his food, but it's not that heavy, right? Put it in a little pouch, head out to war. And if you want to buy things in between one another, well, you just trade the salt, right? Because you can grab a scoop of it, boom, that's how much you get. It's easy to work with, right? Now, if somebody stole your salt, it's gone.
Yeah.
If you dropped your salt in the water, it dissolves, right? So you had to be careful with your salt. And you could probably argue that it's probably not the best money we've ever had for those reasons.
Yeah.
Okay. But the Romans also had coinage, didn't they? Now, I'm not sure when their coinage came about and if salt happened before coinage or if they were concurrent. But that was a form of payment at some point during the Republic and maybe even into the Empire. I'm not sure. But they did have coins too, didn't they? And maybe we can think about that for a second. The gold coin that the Romans created served a number of different purposes, didn't it? I mean, did you ever study that aspect of the Roman history, the coinage?
No.
Right.
No.
So fascinating business and fascinating story to tell is there to tell there as well. So let's imagine you are working with gold. Okay. Fast forward to America where we are printing money that says United States dollar. We make that ourselves, don't we? That's not something real coming from anywhere. It's just a sheet of paper that says, this is money, isn't it? And you're like, yes, because that's all you've ever known. So the United States government controls that money. But if you come back to the Roman Republic, who controlled gold?
The Roman Empire or the Republic.
Quite frankly, whoever had gold controlled gold. So in the Roman Republic, if you are a successful general who has gone off into Gaul, who has gone off into Iberia, who has gone off into Macedonia or Persia, don't want to go to Persia. Very hard to go to Persia. Very hard to win in Persia. Their style of fighting was incredible.
Savages. That's a hard no.
No, they weren't savages. They were many times more disciplined. And their style of fighting was to the Roman style of fighting as the US dollar is a Bitcoin. They didn't know what they had no idea how to, it was impossible to fight the Persians. And you know who adopted the Persian fighting style hundreds of years later?
Who?
George Washington. So you've gone off, you've taken the spoils, and you want to let the people know that you are also, number one, done going off into these hard places to fight, and you would like to have your fair share of ruling the Roman Republic by joining the Senate. Well, what can you do? If you have gold, you melt it down into coins, you stamp your own face on it, your face. And then you're using that gold because nobody cares who's on the coin. The gold coin is what they want.
Right.
Because they know that this much gold is worth this much gold and that you can get this much salt for it or this much food or this much labor or this much of a horse cart, whatever. So it was effectively an advertisement for that person to have their face on the coin.
Oh, interesting.
Right? And the more gold coins with your face on it, the more people are like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
He must be wealthy in order to have gold, put his face on it, and then use it to pay for stuff. Think about living in Raleigh and you go and the Lord Chris Kirby's face is on the dollar bill. Whoa, big mew on that one. Like, let's imagine we could all make our own paper money and you put your face on it because you've got the printing press, you're putting your, be wild, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So you had the gold coin, you would put your face on it, and then that would circulate and be an advertisement for you. Now, if somebody takes the gold coins off the pouch on your hip, what happens to it?
It's just gone. Like,
It's gone.
Yeah,
It's
they
gone.
stole it.
It's gone. Just like the salt, it's gone.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It doesn't dissolve in water, but
Okay.
it's still just gone.
Sounds like an improvement if the water ain't that deep.
True.
If you're in the
river,
if in a creek, like, whoops, I dropped my gold. Well, it goes in the water. It's still there. You grab it. Good to go. And also, by the way, if you were to superheat salt, I don't know if it would be very good to touch. I don't know. Does it explode? Does salt melt? I don't know. It's a rock, right?
I don't know.
Would it reform? I'm not sure. But gold, you can melt up.
Mhm.
And then when it cools back down, it's still gold.
Mhm.
Also, gold never rusts. And you could take this much gold and make it into smaller coins. It's all good.
Mhm.
So some would argue, and I would argue, that gold is a better form of money than salt.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
But it's nuanced because salt's a little bit easier to carry in small amounts than gold, right? It's also quieter, too, if you don't want people to know that you got a big pouch jangling.
Okay.
Do you know?
Sure.
So there's pros and cons. But not a soul-controlled salt. It was a real-world thing. You could make it. You could gather it. You could harvest it. You could make shallow pools in the sun and have it dry out, harvest the salt, good to go. Now you're rich. Gold, you could find it. Where is it? Dig for it, pull it out of the earth, melt it down, get the
Mhm.
you just have to go get it, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Is the story of money interesting to you so far? How do you feel hearing this stuff?
Sure. It just feels like a story.
A little bit easier to digest than your water bill's $48.17.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah, like gold is good money. Salt is like basically a commodity you can barter, you can trade. Like, sure, yes. Is it getting me excited to like learn more about the history of money? Nah. I see money as it is a means to an end. Like it is a necessity. You have to have money to live. You have to have money to buy groceries, to send your children to school, to buy clothes, to have a house, to have but it's not, it's also kind of annoying because if you don't have it, then you can't do either things that you have to be able to do or get, or things that you want to be able to do and get. And it just feels like a constant game of how are we going to make this work? How are we going to be responsible? But how are we going to have fun and make memories? And then how are we going to give our children everything that we want to give them? So it just feels like a constant game. And
so wouldn't it be nice if you could just get to a point where you don't have to worry about money?
Well, sure, that's always the dream, right? But I mean, it's not a reality for most people, I would say.
What if I told you that in today's world, with a little bit of effort and a little bit of attention over the coming years, the average person could get to a place where they don't have to worry about money anymore?
I'd say if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is.
What if I told you that the choice of money, maybe it's not that interesting to hear about salt and gold during the Roman Republic, because it's like, okay, that's interesting, but it's more like a factoid for you at this point. And maybe the story isn't strong enough yet. What if I told you that and you love America, right? So let's say a country here. What if I told you that a country's choice of money determined whether it succeeded or failed as a nation?
That would make sense to me. That would also be something though where I'm not making that decision. I'm just like a bystander. Like that to me feels like a decision that's made on this very high level in government, and they control all that, and we just use the pieces that they tell us we have to use in our lives.
What if I told you have much more power than you think you do?
When it comes to money Or like when it comes to deciding what money we use?
When it comes to moving the whole world to a place where they recapture their love of liberal arts.
I mean, I do think we'll save the world with liberal arts, but I don't think that we will change our, I mean, you're saying like we would change our currency?
If your choice of money could lead to a place where the liberal arts are resuscitated and the glory of the old days are recaptured, would you be in for that?
Yes, as long as that feels like a very, very big foundational shift that does not feel attainable. Because it's just so big. Like the lift is so heavy, or like the ship is so big that it sounds like you're trying to move. I don't see how you do that.
Well, who was it? Archimedes? Did you study him during that time? Give me a lever big enough and I will move the world. We've got a lever big enough. It's right here. So let's keep going. And I know that for you and probably for you and for all the Satillionaires, you're like, Stewart is a maniac.
No, this is beautiful.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because we're building right now and the braiding together is incredible.
Yeah, it's great.
So let me see if I can get a grip on this with my mind because it's spooling out in a couple of different areas. I'm going to set aside this idea very quickly of a republic, an empire, a nation state choosing the correct money. And we're going to come back to that in a second. Let's focus on liberal arts for a moment, okay? Because I've made you eat enough quinoa for a second. Let's get over to a cinnamon apple real quick. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Let's focus on the liberal arts for a moment.
Okay.
Talk to me about the time period that has the art work or the plays or the theater that resonates with you the most.
So artwork, it would probably be Impressionism, the Monet, Manet, like that, or I love sacred art, but like the good sacred art. So like Sistine Chapel, like Michelangelo, like sacred art, like not, there's some icons that are beautiful, but not my preferred style.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So artwork would be the Impressionism, and that's largely in the 1850 to 1900 space, or what's that time period?
I think so,
yeah. Okay. And then you also mentioned the Sistine Chapel, which is more like the 1600s, or is it the 1500s?
I don't know.
Right. Okay. It's in that Renaissance.
Yeah.
Space.
Oh, it's old. Yeah.
Okay. It's in the Renaissance. Okay. All right. So let's jump onto those two real quick. Which one do you want to start with? The Sistine Chapel Renaissance or the late 19th century Impressionism?
Let's go chronologically. So
okay.
We can start with the Renaissance.
All right. Let's go in story order. I like it.
Logic. Yeah.
So who paid for the Sistine Chapel?
I think the Vatican.
The Vatican has the building, right? Who funded the actual work itself?
I thought it was that.
Wasn't it but the church doesn't have its own money. It gets its money from someone else, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, the church, they like raise it.
They hoover it up.
Right. Yeah. And then it's their money to spend on something, or they have a donor that will like pay to paint the Sistine Chapel.
Correct. Right. So somebody with money who has enough money that they're afraid they might go to hell later on.
Maybe not. That doesn't have to always be the case.
Probably 80 to 90% or more of the biggest patrons during the Middle Ages into the Renaissance were rich people who were attempting to pay their way into heaven before they died.
I don't know if I buy that.
Okay.
Set that aside. It's here nor there.
Hit the history books. It's in there.
Okay.
Now, a family like the Medicis, for example, funded an overwhelming amount of some of the most incredible structures and pieces of art and sculpture in Italy during the time they were alive. I think they were mostly centered in Florence. I'm not sure. So Rome having the Vatican, I'm not sure. But ultimately what you had during that period were wealthy patrons who were either paying directly for Michelangelo's work or they're making a donation to the church who is then funding it. How long did it take Michelangelo?
Oh, forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Years.
1 year? 2
Like
years? 8 years? Right? And how long did it take to even build the Sistine Chapel? The structure.
Years.
Before you could even start. Yeah. Okay? And think about some of the churches. Okay?
Oh, those took like decades.
Yeah. Yeah. And some took over 100 years to go from start to finish. Maybe they weren't necessarily working on it the whole time, right?
There were some pauses.
There were some pauses, right? Just like the Washington Monument, nice clean pause there as well. If you go to DC, you'll see the bottom half is a nice bright stone, and then the top half is a little bit darker, isn't it? Because they had to stop during the part you skipped over. So it took a long time for Michelangelo to paint the Sistine Chapel. And I've seen it with my own eyes. Quite nice. There's actually a brain that's hidden behind God, isn't there? That whole tapestry behind God is actually a cross-section of the brain. So he put a lot of work into it. We love that. They put a lot of work into the chapel. They love that. The church took a long time, okay? I want you to contrast and compare a beautiful European Renaissance era church that took 100 years to build with what's called stick construction that they're doing right now in Raleigh to put as many single family condos, boop, 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 right? What do you think about stick construction here in Raleigh versus what they achieved in Europe? How do you feel when you think about those two things?
Well, I feel like one is permanent and one is not. I feel like one will stand the test of time, one will not. One has like thought and a depth and a richness to every aspect of it. Everything from the actual physical architecture of whether you have the Roman columns or the arches or whatever, you have the stairs that lead up to the altar, so you're always looking up towards God. You have the sacred art in it, so your mind is being raised. There's a richness, like like not a money richness, like a like a depth to it. Whereas stick construction, it's like, it kind of feels a little bit like the parable of build your house on rock versus build your house on sand. Like it's good as long as nothing too intense comes along like it's not gonna last. It's gonna be thin. I'm sure it's gonna be like thin walls. You're gonna be able to hear through it, and it's but it also serves a like need now of, we don't have decades, right, to solve this problem of, if we need more housing, can we spend years and decades building it and painting it, or do we need a more immediate solution for the families that need somewhere right now or in the next like year, as opposed to 5 years, 10 years, whatever it would be.
Right. But if we continually choose to build our house on sand because we don't have enough time, do we ever get to a place where our house is now built on stone? Or would it be better if we could slow down, do it correctly, and then have a more lasting solution?
That would be the ideal scenario, yes.
When you're always going for the short-term fix because you're in pressure, you don't ever get to a place where you're experiencing relief from that pressure. If I am a wealthy patron during the Renaissance and I am choosing to fund a project that won't be done for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Some of these projects that these patrons started weren't even done by the time they were dead.
Right.
What is the one thing I must be able to rely on to know that as a patron, I can continue to be okay and I can continue to fund this beautiful, lasting thing no matter what? What has to be rock solid?
Your payment of it?
Correct. Yes. I need to be able to have money.
Right.
And my money
keep it going.
needs to be good money.
Right.
Because if my money's bad money, I won't make it. Here's what I mean by that. Let's imagine I want to do something here in America today because we don't even need to get into the reasons. Let's say that I want to build something lasting right here in Raleigh because I love it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's say I've got $1 million. Year one, I'm paying through my expenses. And we're moving at a steady clip that I can sustain. Year two, lumber costs more now. Mm-hmm. Labor costs more now. Things are delayed. And now I have to spend at a faster rate because things are getting more and more expensive. Year three, shortage, supply chain costs even more. And by the time I get to where I would have been able to build this thing for you for only $1 million, it's costing more and more and more and more as I'm trying to build it to where I can't even get to the end and the project stops half finished. If I had been able to build it by snapping my fingers with $1 million, it would have been built. But since it takes time to build, my money, or you could say things are getting more expensive as I'm trying to build it. Now, are things getting more expensive because they're truly more expensive? Or is my government printing more and more money because it doesn't have a budget? And that's okay, right? So the money I've chosen to use to patronize the liberal arts is getting weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker because my government is giving itself more and more and more of that money for free. So I don't finish the project. But if I'm a Medici in the Renaissance, my money is gold, isn't it? And gold is as good as
gold.
Gold is as good as gold. Yeah. Gold is as good as gold. And so if I have a 1,000 ounces of gold and I start that project, then my gold keeps buying me the same amount of timber, the same amount of people, the same amount of labor, the same amount of expertise, because no one is magically giving themselves more of it for free because they're irresponsible, but also have a ton of power, right? Everyone has to work to find gold. Everyone has to work to find salt. You and I have to work to find dollars, but there's one little organization out there that doesn't have to work to get that money. So if you choose the right money, you can accomplish incredible, lasting works of art, architecture, sacred, etc., you name it.
Memories for your family.
Okay. But if you choose for your money to be built on stone, it's better than choosing for your money to be built on sand. Now let's jump to the La Belle Époque. Okay, right now we're in La France. All right, we've got Manet.
Is that a French accent? Are we gonna call that? Okay,
we're gonna go there.
Okay,
quite good.
Can't wait.
Quite good. Well done, chap. So we've got Manet.
Not French. Now
we're going into England. Yeah,
okay.
I'm channeling Mr. Banks. We've got Manet. We've got Monet. We've got Gauguin. We've got all sorts of dudes. All right. They're looking at your churches, by the way. They're looking at the churches that the French Medicis, whoever they were, built. Okay. And they're like, wow, this church is more than just what it is right now. This church is something in the morning light. This church is something in the afternoon light. This church is something in the evening light. This church is something from the front, from the side, from the back, from the inside. I'm going to paint this church 9 different times so that when I stack it all up, you can see what this church actually is. And the Impressionists were laying the foundation for Cubism and for 4-dimensional philosophies that would come when Marcel Proust was writing his masterpiece in the early century that was to follow, correct? Okay, great. So what currency was France using during the 1850s, the 1860s, 70s, 80s, 90s?
I don't know.
Okay. What currency was the United Kingdom using in the 1850s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s? What currency?
Like the euro? I don't know.
What currency was the United States using during the 1850s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s?
The dollar?
Gold.
Everything was gold.
The United States was using gold.
Okay.
England was using gold. France was using gold. Italy was using gold. Spain was using gold. Okay?
So why isn't everybody using gold?
Today?
Yeah.
Woo! That's when you come back on in 9 months, girl. Ain't got no time for that. Okay?
Yeah.
And we know you like that American history, so we'll jump into the Federal Reserve, the 6102 attack, Nixon, FDR. We'll get juicy when you come back, okay? But we're not even there yet. We're going in story order.
Okay.
All right?
God.
So all of these developed nations were using one money,
Sure.
gold.
Mm-hmm.
And that made it incredibly easy to rely on because
Right.
you could use gold to buy things in France. You could use your French gold to buy stuff in England, right? If you were a patron in England, you could patronize someone in France by sending him gold. You didn't have to go from the pound to the euro or the dollar or the rupee or whatever, okay? So you had all these developed nations that were using gold, and that meant their money was as good as gold.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did you have these beautiful painters in La France who were creating lasting works of art because they could rely on patrons to continue patronizing them to the same tune instead of getting less and less and less and less.
Mm-hmm.
You also had inventors in America who were ripping on the light bulb, for example, right? And they were creating various engines and they were building these inventions, right? And it's called the Golden Age for a reason, right?
Yep.
Everywhere where they used gold experienced this explosion of productivity and progress. And many of the inventions that we rely on today in 2025 were invented between 1850 and 1900. So money, good money, leads to lasting glory. Okay?
Okay.
So we want our house to be built on stone. We don't want our house to be built on sand. And we've already kind of hinted at there's a form of money that's kind of like having your house built on sand. What is it?
Is it actually the dollar?
The US
Yeah.
dollar.
Yeah.
Because we can't get as much. We can't get as much with it today as we could in the 90s. And we don't have enough time to help you see that that's because the United States is printing its own money and not because they're telling you things are getting more expensive, COVID, supply chains, war on terror, financial crisis. They want you to believe that literally any reason other than themselves is the reason why your money is quicksand instead of sacred art, okay? But we do know historically, following the stories, that there have been times when people were using money that was excellent. And as a result, they could rely on it. As a result, they could commit to multi-decade or multi-century works of art. Okay, last thing I'll say, so we can keep it nice and tight. We are now living in not the Renaissance, not La Belle Epoque, but effectively the digital age. Things are online. Your money is just a number in an account somewhere. It ain't even the cash anymore. Your information is in the cloud somewhere. Everything is digital, okay? And Chris and I just so happen to have a form of money that is also digital. Like gold, it stores your value. Like gold, it can't be destroyed if you drop it in the water. Like gold, it can be used any old where, any old time, for any old purchase between any two people, no matter what. And if the whole world decided to use one global digital form of money, you would see a return to people committing to works of art that are lasting. Because even though it sucks to think about it, your choice of money is more important than you could ever imagine. So let's recap right there, okay? And I love this kind of braided story that we put together for you today, just to get you to the point where we can mention Bitcoin one time.
Yes.
One time.
Yes.
One time. This is a chat about sats. I think we said the word Bitcoin one time.
All good.
Dude, all of our daily listeners are like, where's the Bitcoin? But the Bitcoin is waiting for you when you're ready. That's where the Bitcoin is. And Bitcoin is like that digital version of the best money ever, which makes it even better than money in the real world because it can go all around the world, all through space, you name it. Okay. So we have number 56, Marissa, on the show here today. Anthony's wife, who set up this studio for us. You have got yourself 3 kids with Anthony. If you had met earlier, you might have 10 kids, okay? Because you love kids.
Because they're just so great.
And your background, your focus, your lens through which you see the world is through beautiful art. That could be a wonderful story. That could be a painting, whether that's on a canvas or the roof of a chapel. That could be history and some of the interesting stories from Roman Greco times, from America. You know, you're not focused on beep, boop, yep, yep, numbers, yeah, spreadsheet, taxes. You know what I mean? Investments, boo. Who cares? Who cares? We just want to focus on what's important, what's lasting, what's meaningful, because long after you and I are dead and gone and nobody cares about our utility bills, those churches will stand. Those works of art will stand, okay? But guess what? There's only one way to get those things, and it's to be able to fund them. And if you're funding them with money that is melting away, then you are forced to make the quick choice. You're forced to go for something quickly. You can't make a stone cathedral. You need to make a stick house right now. You can't make a Manet or a Monet. You need Jackson Pollock to squirt some paint on a canvas and go, it's art. Okay, watch this. Okay, I made it. This is worth $1 million now, guys, right? You know, you can't make the Sistine Chapel. You go to a museum of modern art where there are 3 gray canvases next to each other.
I know.
And it says number 47 untitled by such and so. And then they have to have words to explain it. This is a reflection. No, it isn't. It's 3 gray canvases lined up, homie. That ain't no, the only commentary that is a commentary on is how garbage our money is. Because nobody can focus on long-term work when their money doesn't last over the long term. So if you switch even just the tiniest bit, you don't need to be me. You don't need laser eyes. You don't need to try to convince your wife to let you go all in, okay, which is going to happen, number 99. Let's go. You just need to say, is this interesting enough for me to start a little bit? Can I lay the first cornerstone of the digital cathedral of me and my family's future so that one day maybe my grandkids can have a world where they aren't stuck into a Prussian box? That's an old form of teaching people. Well, guess what? The US dollar, and you can love America all you want. We all do, right? The money old. It's an old dumb box that they're squeezing us into. And we need to change that in order to make America what it could truly be, right? Which is a shining beacon for a millennia to come. So we are going to make you your offer here. We're going to offer you the chance to get started. And we'll actually lay the first cornerstone for you. All you got to do is say yes. But before we do, we are going to take a little brain break and try some Ithaca hummus. Now, which flavor did you choose? Can you remember?
I don't know. I've had them all. They're really good.
You want me to help you?
Yeah, was it pepper?
Yes.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the roasted
help.
red
You
pep.
didn't need help.
Remember?
Okay.
The roasted
Yeah.
red pep.
Alrighty, so at the end of each episode of Sat Chats, we take a little brain break. We taste Ithaca hummus, different flavor, depending on the choice of our guest. it's always Ithaca hummus, but we do rotate through crackers and chips because we're trying to find the chip, the cracker that is worthy of sitting
Of the
among
hummus.
us.
Yes.
Not just the hummus, but me, Stewart, our guest. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't just like show up here.
Right. The Ithaca hummus is the finished Sistine Chapel painting. This is that blank canvas. This is the roof of that building before Michelangelo got started. So we need a powerful canvas to complement the greatest hummus of all time.
So today we've got pretzelized snacks. These folks take just about anything you can imagine and they turn it into a pretzel. Today we got crackers.
That's awesome.
Sea salt crackers. They're excellent.
There's probably few things that a pretzel doesn't help make better, right?
Ooh,
I would
Pretzels
agree
are
with you.
great.
Pretzels
I
are
love
good.
pretzels.
I agree. And
Pretzel
I
buns.
know for sure Pretzelized agrees.
For
Sam
sure.
Kestenbaum agrees.
Agrees.
All right, so let's have a little dip here.
Yeah.
How about have a dip here?
All right, and then there you go. And then we'll all crunch together into the mic here. So fat glob
That
for
is
me.
so rude. You make people listen to us chew.
Oh, they
yeah.
love it.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Wow. Oh. That's a great combo
that
right there.
pretzel, though.
The pretzel. Love a good pretzel.
Yeah.
Good combo.
So lots of crunch in the pretzelized pretzel crackers. Sea salt. Look, they've got Roman money right on the cracker. Wow.
Wow.
This
Full
thing is
circle.
money. Nice
But could I
crunch.
have bought it with Bitcoin at the grocery store?
Not yet.
Sorry.
But we're getting there. That's when you come back on in 9 months, right? So nice roasted red pepper flavor. Nice
So
pretzel
good.
complement.
kind of a little sweetness, a little
Mhm.
toasted from the
Yeah.
process of toasting these. It's nice. It
I like
adds a
that.
layer of flavor that complements the hummus for
Yeah,
sure.
I like that. Okay.
It's not a blank canvas. Like some crackers are just like crunch only.
Yeah.
This actually adds something that
Yeah.
I quite like.
It's a complimentary canvas. Yeah.
Agreed.
I like that. So let's make Marissa her offer.
Okay, Marissa. So here at Sat Chats, we
Great, can't
believe in exchanging our value for your value. You drove to the studio today.
Mhm.
You were thoughtful. You were present. You had lots of great questions. And we really appreciate that. So we want to give you your choice of 50 US dollars,
Mm.
which Stewart is not allowed to physically touch, but since it's glass encased, he
Oh,
can
okay.
hold that.
Nice,
Not only am
nice.
I not allowed to touch cash, I wouldn't want to if I could.
So that's choice. That's option one. Option
Okay.
two is $50 worth of Bitcoin, which check out the Clark Moody Bitcoin dashboard right here. The exchange rate of one Bitcoin right now is $81,890, which translates into 1,221 sats per dollar.
Mhm.
Times 50 gives you 61,050 sats, or 50 stinky old dollars.
I feel like I'm supposed to pick one over the other.
It's your choice.
Well, yes, but as the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center, we are trying to simply chat about sats and then allow you to make your
Mhm.
choice. And it's okay to make whatever choice you want. But I think we've seen here today that choosing the wrong money
Has consequences.
might end your story.
That was a little, yeah. Okay. You're not dramatic at all.
Nope.
I guess I'll do the sad.
Yes!
Oh,
Oh, come
High
on!
five.
Got the sats.
That was great.
Let's go.
That was
God.
awesome.
Yes,
Awesome,
number
awesome,
56,
awesome.
Marissa. What kind of fine art can you fund with this? Nothing, okay? Get back in the corner. Holy smokes, wow.
See you, bud.
So 61,050 sats?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, 61,000.
Stacked right here. Number 56, Marissa, stacking her first sats right here on the show, okay? And this is how we get to a world of truly fine art again, okay? So, Marissa, you bring our show's score to 51 guests who have stacked the sats, and 5 who need a little bit more time. We are trying to reach 100 who stack the sats before we reach 10 who choose the cash. So thank you for helping us keep our streak alive.
Sure.
So this is the part of the show where we ask our satillionaires for their value in exchange for our value. What do we value besides Bitcoin?
Subscribers on YouTube, guys. It ain't that hard. Let's
YouTube
go.
subscriptions. What are we willing to pay you in exchange for your subscription? A chance to win 1 million sats, not 61,000 sats, 1 million sats. And we're willing to unlock a live show Friday mornings here at 10 a.m. Eastern, where we will all jump on YouTube together and chat about sats as a great big family of satillionaires. We are on the road to number 99. Send us all your wives. Send us every wife you got. Okay, we need every single wife you got between now and number 99 so that we can train.
Wives, grandmothers, nieces, aunts, sisters, we take them all.
Single ladies too. If you are a lady, we would like you to come onto the show, right? So that we can train in the environment that we're going to expect for the big match.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like we got to get tight about this.
You got to smell good. You got to comb your beard. You got to brush your teeth. You got to get ready.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So hit us with the 5 stars on Spotify. Share it with your friends. If you'd like to support our show directly, our on-chain Bitcoin and Lightning addresses are in the show notes. If you already know what I'm talking about, you can zap us sats at satchats@getalby.com. Who's going to be the first satillionaire to zap us some sats by sending along the Lightning Network to satchats@getalby.com?
Doesn't have to be a lot. Don't be intimidated. Every sat counts around here. So,
and quite frankly, the sats that you satillionaires, you OG Bitcoiners send to us, they're going to go to people like Marissa, right? So help us build the circular Bitcoin economy, okay?
mm-hmm.
Also, please remember that Sat Chats is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. Also, our guests' views are their own. Thanks so much, Satillionaires. See you tomorrow.